right, team. Coach Dana Cavalier here, checking in with you. And I got a great episode today on the Becoming a Champion show with Mr. Jeremy Mitchell, founder of Mitchell Bats. He makes customized bats, really cool ones. Make sure you check it out. And the reason I had him on the show is, number one, I'm getting a few bats. But number two, to show you how you can start a business if you follow your passion in any niche. And actually, some of the best businesses start in the niches. So give this episode a watch. I know you'll love it. And if you do, give it a thumbs up, give us some comments, give us a like. Sit back, enjoy my episode with Jeremy Mitchell of Mitchell Bats. Good to see you, man. Thanks for doing this. I came across your website, I think on LinkedIn, maybe like 6 weeks ago. I said, this is
okay.
real cool what you got going on. I really enjoyed looking at the bats and the creativity and I enjoyed what I saw. So I said, I do this show with entrepreneurs and, all different types, some that are very seasoned and others that are in the startup phase. And I said, I want to talk to this guy.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, cool. So how's it going? All right.
It's going good. We're in the thick of it with getting Christmas bats out, painted and shipped. And so this is it's crunch time.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good time though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is our 9th Christmas.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just streaming us to Facebook here, if that's cool.
Yeah, it's great. Hey, Facebook.
Get that revved up. And then all right, we're good to go. So this is your ninth Christmas selling the bats.
That's right. Yeah, we launched it right before Christmas back in 2013. And so it hasn't slowed down since.
Wow. See, that's interesting because I honestly thought that it was a new company.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's just kind of cool to find out how long you guys have been doing this. And do you feel like now you're really starting to get that pop effect where it's like, hey, all these years of work and grinding and building, now we're really starting to be a name in the marketplace?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. We were blessed right at the beginning to be featured in ESPN's Black Friday holiday gift guide, like 2 weeks after we launched. And so that kind of springboarded us into the world really, and got a lot of attention right at the beginning.
So Jeremy, for those out there that don't know Mitchell Bats, how do you explain the company? How do you explain Mitchell Bats?
Yeah, so I say that these are hand-painted, heritage-inspired baseball bats that are instant heirlooms. When you purchase a bat and give it to someone, or you keep it for yourself, like it's instantly a part of your baseball history, DNA, whatever you want to call it, whether you're a Cardinals fan or a Dodgers fan, like you can get a bat in those colors. And in that bat, when you look at that bat, all those memories that you have of baseball and talking about baseball or collecting baseball cards, it's all encompassing in that baseball bat that you display on your wall or have on a shelf, like I have this bat right here.
Yeah. Now, were you a baseball player? What inspired this idea?
Yeah. So I played baseball from basically age 6, T-ball, the YMCA jersey, shorts, all the way up to high school. And then I also ran track and played basketball. And so my baseball career, I would say, ended in probably 8th grade.
Okay.
And I did basketball and track, and I ran track in college, and I did 110 hurdles and 400 meter hurdles.
Okay.
And so yeah, I grew up playing baseball. That's a big part of this. And I grew up collecting baseball cards, and that's really a big part of it too. And not only did I collect baseball cards, like when I would look at a baseball card or a cover of a Sports Illustrated or something with a baseball player on it, I would study the uniforms. And so the stripe patterns, there's stripes in every single uniform of every single sport, basically. And that's where the stripe patterns. That's why I'm drawn to that for the bats, is because of the uniform designs.
Oh, all right. That's it. That's interesting. I always love to hear how people get started. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is
Okay.
about 30 minutes from where I'm sitting right now in Nashville.
Okay. And that's where the company is now. You guys are based in Nashville.
Correct.
Okay. Cool, man. This is it's fun. I just love, when you go on your website, the bats immediately grab you. You say, "Wow, I haven't seen a bat like that." It's very different. Um, it's unique. It has color schemes that are powerful and bold, and it's very attractive to the eye.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
So who comes up with the designs?
So that's me. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm the founder, creative director, painter, janitor, all the things.
Okay. So how do you manage all that? Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there are like dealing with fatigue and they deal with burnout and they deal with their own emotions and questioning, am I doing this right? Am I doing enough? Am I doing too much?
Yeah, I think you have to give yourself a ton of grace. There's times where I'm like, I don't have any more ideas,
Hmm.
and then something will pop up, and it's off to the races. I also have a very very supportive wife
Okay.
that has helped me over the last 8 years, and so that's been a big part of this. But I think it's I'm painting baseball bats, and so I'm not saving lives. I'm not flying an airplane.
Yeah.
So if I have to ever reach out to a customer and say, hey, this is going to take a little longer than I thought, then I've learned to do that if I have to, and they're always awesome, and I have a great client base, and
Yeah.
the people that I consider fans of Mitchell Bat are understanding and supportive too.
Yeah. How long does it take you to make a bat?
Start to finish, it's a lot of little tedious things. It's a lot of little things that go along with it. So all in all, I would probably say a couple of hours, maybe, over the course of a couple of days, because stuff has to dry,
Yeah.
stuff has to be sanded and stained, and so there's a process that is
Hmm.
very tedious.
And for you, where'd you learn how to do all this? I mean, was it something that just trial and error or what?
Yes. Oh man, that's a good question, because when I launched this bat company, 2013, I didn't have any bats. I'd never painted a bat. All I had was Photoshop renderings, because I'm a
Hmm.
designer by trade.
Oh, okay.
I've worked in advertising since the early 2000s, and so I know how to spin up a product, and I know how to render a product visually, and so that's what I did. I quickly built a website, literally during the seventh inning stretch of game 6 of the 2013 World Series, and it was really on a whim. It was completely
Hmm.
on a whim. And so to answer your question of like, how did I learn how to do this? Literally, I got the bats after we made a bunch of sales. I didn't have any bats, so I'm basically selling these like fictitious bats
Yeah.
with a promise that I'm going to ship these things, and that was risky and that was scary. But I got the bats, and I actually have a bunch of bats here with me to show. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you bat number 1
Yes.
and bat number 2. So I kept them because I felt like they were going to be special, and they were going to be that I'd want to keep these. And so bat number 1, this is called the Washington, and we don't sell this bat anymore because after I made it, so it's very like
Yeah.
vintage bat, like vintage baseball.
Okay.
It doesn't look like your typical Mitchell bat that we have in the store now. There's some similarities to it, but this was bat number 1. And I literally just was like, okay, I just got to make sure the stripes are straight. And I'm actually proud of this bat. This is my very first one that the stripes actually like turned out to
Yeah.
be straight. And then bat number 2. Let's see here. I want to knock this stuff over. Bat number 2, because the Cardinals were in the World Series.
Hmm.
This is bat number 2. So this one, after I made this one, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the template. Like
Okay.
I want to have a full color barrel, stripes up here, about 2 inches of negative space here, a negative space in the wood, and then a handle. Now I have stripes in the handles. But funny story about this. Let's see if the camera picks this up. So there, you see this number 2.
Yeah.
On the end there. So
Yeah.
I pounded that in there. I had some friends that were like, hey, you should number these. And I'm like, really, how? And they're like, you should just number the knob. And so I pounded this on with like a metal like template,
Yeah.
with a hammer, and it cracked the bat.
Wow.
I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going to do that anymore. So I had to come up with a different way of numbering. But these are special to me because, I mean, this is the template that we've made basically all of our Mitchell bats off of the last 8 years, and it's gotten some wear and tear on it. We haven't really kept good care of it because it's just been bouncing around the shop.
So Jeremy, just as you go with that bat number 1 and then bat number 2, how many of those have you sold, or how many did you sell of bat 1 and 2, or any?
Oh man. So yeah, so we still sell, this is the design of number 2 right here that
Okay.
we sell all the time. We sell a lot of these in St. Louis. As you can tell, it's the St. Louis colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I replicate the designs. And so that we've sold, gosh, I don't even know how many of these we've sold. But it's a lot. I always say, when I answer that question, sometimes people say, how many bats have you sold? And I say, more than I ever could have imagined that I ever would sell.
Yeah, that's cool. Cause you have an appreciation for the customer in a statement like that. And you also have just an appreciation for what you've done, and the marketplace has that appreciation too.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're all made to order. So when you order a Mitchell bat, the bat that you receive it's not just one off the shelf. It's one that I sat down and made specifically for you, for that customer. And I think that's a pretty cool business model.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was thinking about that because it is so handcrafted and handmade and personal, in building this company and building this brand. Is that what you envision it being in the future? The same kind of thing, just boutique, custom curated, a specialty company? Or are you looking to take this thing to where it's just, more of a mass production model?
Yeah, I like the idea of keeping it craft, keeping it boutique. And I think there's a way to scale that up just a little bit, so that we're not a warehouse just full of thousands of bats sitting on a shelf. I think that there's something that I feel like I might lose something if I take it that route.
Yeah, because today, in the world of entrepreneurship, it's always about growth. It's about scale. It's about volume. It's about numbers. How do you that battle that could show or exist? How do you deal with that for yourself?
Yeah. So I have one of my mentors, pretty cool guy, Paul Cunningham. So he's the owner of Leatherhead Sports. And so he makes this football right here.
Okay.
So his company makes footballs and baseballs and soccer balls, all handmade in America. He has an inventory of things, but he's making stuff all the time. And I talk to him quite often. And when I'm feeling like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I don't know what I'm doing with this bat company anymore. And the last time I talked to him, he asked me this question. He said, "Are you happy?" And I said, yeah, of course I'm happy. Like I'm happy with where I am. I'm happy with where I've come and what I'm doing. And I'm happy for the future. And he goes, then just keep doing what you're doing. If you're happy, then don't mess with that.
Yeah.
And he also said, if you get to a comfortable plateau, which is not always what entrepreneurs and businesses want to stay at, is just like get to a plateau and just stay there. He's like, if you get to a comfortable plateau and you're happy with that and your life is good, then stay there for a little bit. Then stay there as long as you can. And I think that's like, after hearing him say that, I was like, okay, I can just like, can calm way down and not worry if this is going to go crazy where I have 50 employees or 100 employees or, you know, storefronts and locations. And there's all these ideas that people will volunteer to put in my head of like, hey, you should do this or you should do that. I'm like, and I want to like run to that, but it's, you know, the foundation of this will always be the same. Heritage inspired hand painted baseball bats in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's kind of where I want to stay for now.
Yeah. And what's cool is, I mean, you're the guy for that. Like you're the category leader of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And then you just, you know, you have your lane and you stay right there and you know what it is. I always say like happiness and peace come from clarity. So if you have clarity on what it is that you're doing and building and what you're all about, you know, puts you many steps ahead of the average entrepreneur. Because most entrepreneurs can bite those hooks and bite on the bait of friends and family and customers and people that say, hey, Jeremy, you know what you should do? You should do this. And you should do baseballs with unique seams. And you should do this and you should do that. And then you lose, you know, you lose that clarity. And when you lose that clarity, you lose the peace and you lose the happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, like there's a guy that's doing those baseballs, you know, with the different stitchings and all that. And so it's, I like to partner with people. So like this, you mentioned baseballs. So Huntington Baseball Company makes these handmade baseballs in Boston. Cool. And they're unique and they're handmade. You got Huntington right there on the panel. And so we sell his baseballs on our website. And, you know, that's a way for me to, partner with other people that are doing cool stuff in the sport. And it's just a hat tip to, you know, for me to, you know, his name's Will Peebles and he's a friend of mine. And now, I get to market his product and he can talk about my product. And it's just like, everybody's kind of just in this brotherhood, of baseball. And that to me is really cool. Like when someone's like, hey, have you ever thought of making wallets out of old baseball gloves? I'm like, no, but Fielder's Choice does that and they're awesome. And you should get a wallet from them. And I'm going to stick to the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. You guys are like baseball artisans doing your thing.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, Randall Thompson with Dugout Mugs, you know, it's kind of the same thing with him. You know, he's just, you know, found his niche with the barrels and turning them into, you know, drinking mugs and things like that.
Yep.
And it's like, sometimes you have that signature product and that is your product for the duration.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Randall and I text every once in a while. And he's a good guy to bounce ideas off of. And he has his thing is just an empire. I mean, he's got so many products and mugs just going out the door every day. I'm really proud of what he's accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's done a great job. So I want to ask you for somebody out there, let's say there's somebody out there today that has an idea and they're a bit nervous about bringing their idea to market. You said you were selling your idea before you even had a product. How do you get over that? I mean, what do you do? And how do you just say, hey, I'm going all in?
Yeah. I mean, you have to launch it, when nobody's looking, which is what I did. I launched a bat company. I had 0 Instagram followers. I had no traffic to my website. I had nothing. So you have to launch it and not worry about, what your website looks like on day one or year one. Launch immediately and tell everybody about it. Yeah. And don't be afraid of someone stealing your idea. There's only 24 hours in a day. People don't have time to do what they're doing, plus doing what you're thinking about doing. So my advice to that is don't worry that you don't have a logo. Don't worry that you don't have the perfect cotton. If you're making t-shirts or hats, get it out there, launch it, and then worry about making it perfect later. Because honestly, it'll never be perfect. It'll never be perfect. You will always, like my website right now, like you looked at it and you're like, this is great. I look at it and I see all the problems with it. I see all the things that I want to change about it. But at the end of the day, the main thing is the main thing, and you got to stick to that.
Yeah, which is interesting. You know, the psychology of an entrepreneur, it's so wavering because of that. You know, you're almost trained to see what the flaws are, you know, with the hope for improvement. But if you focus too much on the flaws, what do you become, right? You become always thinking about flaws and negativity,
Right.
when business and growth is so much about optimism and what we're able to do, what we can do, what we're going to do. So there's also that fine balance. But yeah, a lot of people get stuck because they're so worried about being perfect on what it is that they're putting out there to the market, and they think that one, you know, if rendition one, if it doesn't go perfect, they're done forever.
Right.
So and this business, I'm guessing when you first started, and maybe even now, I mean, the startup costs were pretty low.
Yeah. I launched it with 99 cents,
Okay.
and that was the price of the URL
Okay.
that I got with a discount code. And I paid that 99 cents with a PayPal account that I had from another website that was making money off of ads, on like a blog. And so everything has been kind of like funding itself, like all these ideas, kind of help pay for it. And, I spent money on the bats and the paint, but I mean, all in all, I mean, it started with 99 cents, and that was that
Yeah.
URL.
Yeah. So that's cool. And your first and your first sale,
Yeah.
when did it come? What did it feel like? And then what was the scramble like afterwards to get that
Oh
done and
man.
packaged? And
Yeah, it was weird because, I launched this on October 30th. So this is like the day before Halloween.
okay.
Um, Launched it, went to a Halloween party the next night, told some people hey, I launched a bat company. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Um, how are you going to paint these? How are you going to ship these? What are you going to charge? How are you going to do taxes? What if somebody makes a return? I don't know. I don't know these things, but I don't care because I launched.
I'm in business.
And yeah, I'm in business. So that was like, I think that was like a Friday night, and then like Saturday, and then Sunday, we made our first sale the following Sunday. So 4 days after we launched it, I hear this notification on my phone that I've never heard before. It was like a cash register sound.
Yeah.
And I was like, what was that? And so I went to my phone, and it was a sale. And it was like, congratulations, you made your first sale. I'm like, oh no, I didn't know that anyone was even looking at this. And I told my wife, she's like, what happened? I was like, somebody bought a bat. And she was like, I don't know, man. I think you got to give this guy a refund and tell him like you don't have bats. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna make this happen. And then while I was talking and holding my phone, that guy emails me, and he was like, hey, I just bought a bat. And there was at the time, the bats were named after cities. And so he bought a Boston bat because I launched with the Washington, which I just showed you, the St. Louis, and the Boston.
Okay.
Because I launched it with the two teams that were in the World Series. And he said, I bought a Boston bat. And I was at the 1986 World Series, and I would like to buy a bat in New York Mets colors. Do you have that available? And so obviously I don't have that on the website. So what I did, I went into Photoshop and changed the color of the St. Louis bat to be orange and blue, and popped it on the site, and then responded to his email within minutes, and sent him a link to that blue and orange bat, and he bought it, and right then from the email. And so my first customer was also my first repeat customer, and off to the races after that. I mean, we were selling bats to people in Australia and Canada and all over the US, like in that very first week. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like I've never launched a thing that was immediately like impactful and like happened the way that this all happened. And then, no joke, 2 weeks after I launched this thing, and I'm barely keeping up with orders already, ESPN sends us an email, and they're like, we want to feature your bats in the holiday gift guide for Black Friday.
Wow.
And I was blown away by that, because I was just like, this is crazy. And so I looked back at the 2012 holiday gift guide, and that's where Leatherhead Sports, which makes these footballs, he was featured on there. And so I was just like, well, I'm going to reach out to him and just see if he responds, and to see if I should do this or not. And so so I emailed Paul Cunningham, and it was like just like info@leatherheadsports.com, just a generic email address. And he emails me back, this guy that I've been following and never really talked to him. I knew who he was just from, because he's been doing footballs for a couple of years now. And I loved his product. And so he gave me some really solid advice. And he was like, yeah, I saw your bats. And I'm like, how did you see my bats? So come to find out, like, there was a lot of blogs and magazines and stuff already like talking about these bats, because they've never seen any bats like this. And I had never seen any bats quite like this. And so it was at the time, I think it was the right product at the right time in the right season, right before Christmas. And so yeah, that first bat was a scramble, because we didn't have any way to like put our logo on the end of the handle here, like we do. So we have like that's where our logo is, and that's intentional to keep the logo off of the design, similar to like like now Nike has their swoosh right there, which I don't love the swoosh on the front. They used to keep the stuff like on the side, but I digress. About that. That's a conversation for later. But that first bat was like, man, it was like she being getting shot out of a cannon. And I just felt like, holy cow, like we're doing this, like this is a real thing. And that first Christmas, after that ESPN feature, we're sitting at church on that Sunday, and I was in California visiting family, and my phone just kept cha-ching, just kept on, like orders are coming in just like one after the other. And we're across the country, and I'm like, Kathy, we might have to tell my wife, like we might have to like get a flight home sooner than what we expected, because now I have to paint. And I was painting bats from, so we just had a brand new baby. I started a brand new job at an advertising agency. And so I was working 9 to 5, I had a brand new newborn, our second baby. And I was painting from the minute I got home to into the night, like sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning.
Wow.
And I would go to sleep, wake up at like 6 in the morning, continue painting, and then go to work. And it was a grind, but it was also fun. Like I look back at those times. I don't know if my wife would tell you the same thing, but I was having a blast, and I was making something that was different than what I had been making in the past, which was all digital, all stuff on the screen. And so this was something that I could get my hands dirty and work with tape and work with, tools. Like I'm before we came on this call, I'm like cutting out, like, I'm making vinyls for all the projects I'm working on right now. But I get to work with all these different unique tools that I've never even heard of. And it's fun to go back and forth from digital to in your hands.
Yeah. I think the world today is so digital that it's nice to have something to touch and something to hold on to and something to, keep and cherish. So that's really cool. But that's what makes that story so much fun, is that it shows just the scrappiness, of you, but also what's required to be a startup entrepreneur. And again, you get these orders coming in, you barely have the materials, you've never really done it before. And it's like that ready, fire, aim mentality. and so many people are spending X amount of time on their business plan. And it's like, it's the saying of Mike Tyson, where he says, hey, it's great to have a plan until you get punched in the face.
Right.
And then it's like, we have to figure it out here.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. Yeah.
So the bats, and I'm guessing they were never meant to be game used bats.
Right. They were meant to be on the wall.
Yeah. On the wall, collectibles. And that's kind of unique in itself, because most people get in the bat business and they want to see their bat on, at Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park in the hands of a professional hitter. For you, you went about it, from right away from the collectible standpoint. Right.
Yeah. I think that, I wanted something that I would hang on my wall and display in my home. And as much as us guys love the broken bats, or the bats with pine tar all over them, signed by Anthony Rizzo or whoever, hanging on your wall, it doesn't always look the best, according to my wife. But we have a bat hanging in our living room, and it was her idea. So I mean, there's something there. but yeah, these the bats we started making. We're selling these bats. So this is my personal collection. This is Wade Boggs.
Yeah,
Wade
cool.
Boggs signed this bat recently, but we started making these leather hangers
Oh, yeah, that's
that,
cool.
and so it's all you need is a nail,
Yep.
and it hangs on the wall, and it's easy to display. It looks nice, and it's not big and bulky. And so we started selling these bats, and people were like, "How should we display these?" And we're like, "I'm like, I don't know. Buy a bat rack or something." And so we wanted to offer a solution, and so I make thousands of these all the time, made out of leather, and we have a few different colors that we started offering. So like a glove leather, like lighter tan. This is a
Yeah. Okay.
Don Mattingly signed bat. And so I have like 10 bats right here with me. Like when y'all reached out and they said that you want to see some bats, like I had to go grab like my like archived like personal
Yeah.
collection. But yeah, the leather hangers come in black. And so this is a Daryl Strawberry
Okay.
autographed bat.
Cool.
This is the only bat. This is the only Mitchell bat that I actually purchased at full price, because we Daryl was. I have a podcast as well, the Jeremy Mitchell Show, and
Okay.
Daryl was on my show, and that still is like, I can't believe that I got Daryl Strawberry to be on my podcast, but we've become like semi friends over this, and I was trying to raise money for my girls' softball field that got flooded. This was like
Yeah.
last spring. And I'm like, man, what could I do? I should do an auction. And I'm like, who could I get to sign some bats? I'm like, oh, Daryl. So I texted Daryl and I was like, hey, could you sign a Mitchell bat? And I'm going to auction it off to raise money for our softball fields that were ruined. And he responded back. He's like, absolutely, send it to me. And then like minutes later, he goes, send me 3. And I'm like, no way. And so I painted up 3 bats, and he signed them and, inscribed them with the 86 champs, 86 WS champs,
Yeah.
which is cool. He's like my favorite player of all time. And so when I got him back in the mail, I'm like, I gotta keep one of these.
Yeah.
But fair and square, I gotta pay for it. And so I paid full price to donate money to the softball fields. But yeah, that's the only bat that I've ever like paid for. And the bats have like evolved a little bit. Like this one's pretty crazy with the elephant print.
Yeah.
Like with like the Jordan 3s, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah,
and then,
that's what I was thinking about when
yeah. And then Tinker Hatfield, which is the designer that designed the Jordan 3s. That's like his signature logo.
Wow.
But this is a birthday present to myself a couple of years ago. When I have any extra time, which I never have any of that, I like to paint bats for myself. I had to get out of the habit and the rhythm of like wanting to keep all the bats, because I got to ship something, so I got to get those out the door. But yeah, this one, this actually was the first bat that we put a logo on of someone else's logo besides ours. And the story behind this one, this is Jack Daniel's custom bat. It's stained with whiskey, and it's flame charred, so like a whiskey barrel.
Yeah.
And so Jack Daniel's reached out, and they were like, "Can we want to do a bat with our logo on it?" And every person that asked if I could put a logo on a bat, I told them no, because I didn't know how to do it. Number one. And I didn't fully understand the vision of like putting logos or anything on here that wasn't just stripes, because I was so married to the stripes. And this is probably year 2. But for 2 years, I was telling people, no, we don't put logos on bats. And then when Jack Daniel's reached out, like, hey, can you put my logo on a bat? Of course, I was like, of course, we'd love to. And because you don't say no to Jack Daniel's.
That's true.
And,
not in Tennessee.
So we did this bat for them, and this one kind of put us on the map. I think this one got us attention from Oprah.
Wow.
People have seen this bat on Instagram, and now we do just a ton of like custom bats. Like that's a lot of what we do is custom bats. We do one-offs. We do 50 at a
Wow.
time, anything in between. But this one is special. This is like one of my favorite bats. And of course, I got two more to show you.
Yeah.
This is you know what that says?
No.
It's Shohei Ohtani.
Okay.
So this is so we're MLBPA licensed, so Major League Baseball Players Association, which you know something about that probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're licensed through them, and so this year opening day we launched our MLBPA custom bats, and so player name and number on the bats, and those are all on the website. And this has been a really fun idea because we've never licensed. I'm learning a lot about licensing, but we've never gone that route before. Mostly because I didn't know how to do it, and I tried. I wanted to do this idea probably 5 years ago, five or 4 years ago, maybe. And I would just email people and they're like, no, you can't do that for this or that reason. And I finally got the right person on the phone and to walk me through this process. And this has been our most popular bat, which is Shohei, because everybody loves Shohei. And then one more if we have time.
Yeah. So
this one's probably one of my favorite bats too. And I still can't believe that we got to work with this company. So in 2018, 2018, I wanted to put MLB licensed logos on our bats. And I had the vision for it. And I do that for teams. I do that for the Red Sox. I do that for the Reds. I've done it for the Padres. Like when the teams reach out, it's fair game. I can do that, without licensing because it's the team asking for it. And I obviously can't sell those on my website. I can't even put them on a website. Can't even talk about it. So if you're listening, hey, this is just between us. So through that process, it was really through LinkedIn, actually. Through LinkedIn, I found a guy at MLB who used to work for the Reds, and I have connections with the Reds, and I have connections with Cincinnati, and people know everybody in Cincinnati. And so I'm reaching out to my Cincinnati friends. I'm like, hey, do you know this guy? Do you know this guy? His name's this. He works for MLB. He does this. I need to talk to him, because those people, they don't talk to anybody, because why would they? Because they're busy with MLB stuff. And this guy, one of my buddies, he goes, well, my kids call him Uncle. So yeah, we know him. So yeah, I'll connect you because we're good friends. So we connect over text message. That turns into a phone call. I'm talking to MLB licensing, and I'm like, man, this is going to happen. I can't believe it. This is the closest I've ever been to this. And so I hop on the phone with this guy, and he's like, what is your idea? And I was like, I want to put logos on the bats, and I want to know how to do that legally. Licensing, like, tell me what I need to know. If it's a no, then just tell me no and I'll move on. It's fine. And he goes, well, let me connect you with the company that has that license, because there's only one bat company that has the ability to do that. And maybe you can talk to them and see what they say. And I'm like, that's a no. So anyway, so this was like 6 months later. So we had this phone call. And he's like, I'm going to connect you with this bat company. And I didn't hear from him for like 6 months. And I thought it was just a dead end. So my phone rings in the middle of the day. It's my friend. It's my new friend at MLB. And he goes, you're not going to believe this, but this bat company wants to talk to you. And he goes, it's Louisville Slugger.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I in trouble? Like, should I get my attorney involved? He's like, no. He goes, they're excited to meet you, and they have an idea. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. And so he goes, can I connect him with you? And I said, yes. And so the very next day I'm on a phone call with Louisville Slugger. It's like their creative director, their marketing director, some high ups in the company. And they're like, hey, what's your idea? Like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I want to put logos on the bats, like Yankees, Braves, all of them. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And it was just like, okay, now what? and you got me on the phone, we scheduled this call, and it's just like, did you just like do this to be mean? Like, what, why are you on here just to say no? And they're like, you can't do that. We're the only company that can, but we have a better idea for you. We have a cooler idea. I'm like, okay, what is it? And they're like, Home Run Derby's coming up in Washington, D.C. And we have this idea to collaborate with an artist, specifically a bat artist, a bat painter, to come up with a design for the bats that are going to be used at the Home Run Derby. Would you be interested in that? I'm like, that's a hard yes for me. Like, I'm for sure going to say yes to that. So we came up with, I got the bat right here. So cool. This is a Louisville Slugger. Yeah. And with Mitchell Batco logo cool. on the handle. And so these are Louisville Sluggers. Me and my team painted these with the stars and the stripes because it's in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it's a Supra bat. So these are the bats this is the design that I came up with. Wow. And so, 300 plus emails later, back and forth between Louisville Slugger and me, we came up with this design, and they were shipping me bats. They shipped me blank Louisville Slugger bats. We painted them, we detailed them, put the stars on them, put the stripes on them, and then they added my logo.
Oh, nice.
And then they added the sorry, it's upside down. They added the Louisville Slugger logo and the rest of the branding. So it was a true collaboration. And what's crazy about this whole process is, so they sent me just a bulk amount of bats, and we were just me and three of my painters were just painting like crazy. And this was probably a week before, and I had a plane ticket to go there. Like I saw this in person. Like I was in the stadium, front row, in the outfield, and it was crazy. We're in right field. Bryce Harper won the whole thing. Yeah. And Schwarber was hitting bombs in our section. And what's crazy is a week before, they're like, hey, we're going to send you 3 more bats to paint, and you have to turn them around in like 24 hours. And they're for one of the players that's going to be in the Derby. And I was like, well, can you tell me who it's going to be? Like, we can't tell you. And I'm like, come on, you can tell me. And they're like, we can't tell you. But when the box came, the bats had a little, like, kind of a hang tag like this on them. Yep. And it said BH. So who do you think that's for?
Yeah, exactly. A little Bryce Harper action.
So Bryce Harper. So I'm painting Bryce Harper's bats. And I was, after I painted them, I was in the backyard. Like, I was like, once they were dry, I was swinging them. And so, I was like, putting my juju on it, just to make sure that he was going to win the whole thing. And so this right here is like, I still can't believe that this happened. And to think that it started here. Yeah, it's amazing. With this, like, design that's not much to it, to now we're in DC. Yeah. People using these bats
a big stage
for the Home Run Derby. So that to me was like, I still can't believe it. Even right now, as I'm talking about it, like, I still can't believe it. And it's and with all of that, with Jack Daniels and Shohei and Louisville Slugger, like, none of those things, like, are the thing. Like, it's just one of the things. Yeah. Like, I don't think that along the way, like, when I tell people, that prior to this Louisville Slugger thing, like, when I'm like, hey, I'm doing this Louisville Slugger project, and they're like, oh man, that's it. That's the thing. That's the thing that's going to, like, XYZ. And I'm like, I'm always kind of like, I don't know. I mean, maybe, it's cool and it's awesome, but it's also like, I have to get it done. Like, I have to get the work done. And just because they're Louisville Slugger and because they're humongous, it's all people and it's all email addresses. Like, we all have an email address and we all have a device that we can send messaging on, whether you're some mom in Wichita that wants a bat, or whether you're Louisville Slugger marketing director. Yeah. Like, the quality is the same. And I think with that's a fun place to be in. when I'm painting a bat, like I don't waver on quality. Everyone gets the same 100% quality from me.
Yeah. And it's cool that you're so in it, and you get to, it all matters for you because it is so personal. And that's cool. So it's like, there's all these moments along the journey, and it's like, that's the brand story. The brand story is still growing. It's still evolving. It doesn't have an ending yet. A buddy of mine started Under Armour, said every brand has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we don't know when the end is, but every day we work to continue the middle of that story. So it just continues to evolve and grow and build, and who knows where it goes. That's the great part about being an entrepreneur. It's like, just when you started, hey, let's do this. We don't have any bats. Oh my gosh, we got our first sale. Maybe we could turn it into a second sale. Boom. So it's all of that is what creates the story. It's just, for me, it's a great story of telling people, find something you're passionate about and get started. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to start. And in starting, you get to meet your childhood baseball hero. You get to, be present at the largest, one of the biggest events in Major League Baseball, the All-Star Game, partnering with brands that are some of the biggest in the country. So that story continues to evolve, which is really cool. And it just started with an idea and a gamble on self and using your creative talents to develop something unique for the marketplace.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Which is cool. So Jeremy, I have one last question for you. I call this the Becoming a Champion show. And I feel like we're all on a journey to become a champion in all that we do and basically with who we are, right? We're all working to become better and better. What does the word champion mean to you?
Champion is I think a champion is someone who goes above and beyond what the requirement is.
Yeah.
And it's someone that still has excellence even when no one's looking.
Yeah.
Even when the lights are out, the baseball field is empty, everyone's gone home, and they're still there working on their craft. And nothing's going to get in the way of their craft. Nothing's going to get in the way of them growing.
Yeah.
A champion is someone also that lifts others up. I think that you think about Michael Jordan, like he didn't win all those championships by himself. He had a lot of people involved. And so like, I think a champion, and I think it's someone that is doing the hard work when no one's looking.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of hours when nobody's looking. And if you do it for when people are looking, you can get yourself in some trouble. So it's all that time, I guess, by yourself as an entrepreneur, thinking, contemplating, and trusting that gets you to where you want to go. Very, very cool, right, man. I like it. So that's cool. I appreciate you coming on today and us jamming. I think it's a great story. Well, I know it's a great story, and I'll link to your website, and hopefully people could check out these bats.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Jeremy Mitchell. It was a good one. Head on over to his website, mitchellbatco.com. He's got some cool stuff, some bats. He's also got hockey sticks. So check it out. It's all custom, and you can see the artist in him and the passion come out in his work. And it's super cool. So like I said, I bring entrepreneurs on that are owning and working to dominate niches. And his story was a real cool one. And I hope you sympathized with it and enjoyed it. And it has your wheels turning to say, what can I do next? It got your wheels turning. And now you could say, what could I do? What could I do? What could I do? So that's what the show's about, the Becoming a Champion show. It's about inspiration, motivation, and encouragement to move you along your high performance journey. And I hope it did that today. And if it did, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, give us a like, anything you want, tell a friend, and we'll talk to you real soon on the next episode of the Becoming a Champion show. This is Coach Dana Cavalier. See ya.